Hey, you guys, this is Tamiya Robles. I am a credit repair specialist, credit repair expert. I am the owner of Fix My Credit Now, 850.com, and the host of my podcast, Coast to Coast Credit. Welcome. So, now we're headed into another segment regarding the PACT Act. And what I wanted to do is break down the section where it discusses who's eligible with regards to the Gulf War era and post 9/11 veteran eligibility under the PACT Act. So once again, I'm going to share my screen with you guys, and there we go. All right. So if you go to VA.gov, it will show you everything that I'm sharing with you here. But we're just going to go over this in detail. Predominantly, this is going to be informative, and I will not share too much of my opinion. I'm going to definitely bite my tongue as best as I can. But what I will tell you guys is when I'm sharing this video with you, make sure that you're paying attention to keywords. Keywords are important. If you don't notice it, I'll notice it for you guys and bring it up. But like the word presumptive, that's a key thing. If you check out the first video, it breaks it down. The VA breaks it down what they mean by presumptive illnesses, and so on and so forth, expansion of disabilities, so on and so forth. But you have to pay attention to words, especially when you're dealing with the government, as we know. So, like I mentioned in the first video, they do a good job of asking questions or bringing up questions that your average individual will want to know. And we're just going to go through each and every one of them. So, for the Gulf War era and post 9/11 veteran disability, it says what burn pit and other toxic exposure conditions are now presumptive. And when you click on the plus sign here, it says that they've added 20 more burn pit and toxic exposure presumptive conditions based on the PACT Act. This change expands benefits from Gulf War era and post 9/11 veterans. So, as you can see, I'm not going to read all of them. When I did another video, I was struggling with like the medical terminology and I sounded really goofy. So I'm not doing that, right? But you'll get the gist. Like I said, you can always look at the video, the website yourself. But here's the cancers that are now presumptive. So brain cancer, head cancer. See, I'm saying the easier words. Gastrointestinal, I can say that. But take a look at the cancers. Okay. Now, if you scroll down a little bit more, it says learn about presumptive cancers learn more about it. So, about these presumptive cancers related to burn pit exposures. So, it goes into explaining we've expanded the list of presumptive cancers for eligible Gulf War and post 9/11 veterans. A presumptive conditions means we assume or presume that your service caused your condition. Read this page to review the most common types of cancers. So when you scroll down, it's telling you even more. So brain, head, neck, nervous system cancers. This type, gastrointestinal, kidney, lymphomas, melanoma. And when you click on it, it takes you down here to break it down even further. So let's go with that for the sake of this episode. So let's say you had brain, head, neck, and nervous system cancer. So it says we consider these types of cancers presumptive: brain and stem cancers, head cancers of any type. And it's saying what it also includes, including this word right here that I cannot pronounce correctly and smoothly, and other brain cancers, head cancers of any type, including cancers of the scalp, face, mouth, oral areas, lips, and hard to soft palate, neck cancers of any type, spinal cord cancers. And it says, note, this isn't a complete list of brain, head, neck, and nervous system cancers. Keywords here. So even if you do not see your cancer on here and you feel that this is related, and since they're doing this whole presumptive thing, right? Well, still apply for the PACT Act. Okay, put that under the PACT Act, and it looks like they're going to accept it. All right. Examples of presumptive cancers. So now we're going to the brain cancers. So again, I'm not going to try to pronounce some of this stuff. I want to say it smoothly, but here, take a look at some of the cancers here. All right. Now, eye and ear cancers. Okay. Take a look at that list. Mouth, neck, and throat cancers. This is a very long list, people. This is a long, lengthy, detailed list. Nose cancers and all up and down here. Sarcomas, all up and down. So just take a look because it more than likely applies to you. Okay. If you've had this. All right, now they're getting into gastrointestinal cancers. So you can look at this long list. And again, it looks like, according to their list and what they're putting in parentheses, that it's of or pertaining to these cancers. All right. So, if, like, for example, if they're saying tongue cancer, they're saying including, and they're giving a list of what else they include under that. If it's, I don't know, liver cancer, they're including other ailments and diagnoses related to liver cancer. So the reason why I am stressing this so much is because some of you guys may have had cancers or certain ailments, and you're like, oh no, it's not on the list, it doesn't apply, therefore I'm not going to apply for the PACT Act, when you should definitely go ahead and do that shit, man. Because look at this. Breast cancer. How many of our female soldiers have had breast cancer, cervical cancer, ovarian cancer, uterine cancer, all of that? Okay. It is now deemed presumptive. Go ahead and file for the PACT Act. Put this under the PACT Act. Okay. Bronchial cancer. So if you click on that, you can see what they're referring to. Okay. So just check this list out. If you, your veteran, family member, friend, associate, even let people know. Check out the PACT Act. Your illness more than likely is going to be covered. And now that it's deemed presumptive, you do not have to show any medical. You don't have to show proof. You don't have to do any of that. Okay. So now, actually, I want to go backwards because that was the cancers, right? So now they're talking about illnesses. So these illnesses are now presumptive. Okay. Now keep in mind this, we're only talking about Gulf War era and post 9/11 veteran eligibility here. So where these illnesses are now deemed presumptive, keep in mind more than likely they are somehow related to the cancer. So these are the illnesses that typically lead up to these cancers. But as you can see, asthma, chronic bronchitis, okay, sinus issues, all that. This is related to breathing, all of these issues. And if you click on here down the bottom, it says learn about other hazardous materials, presumptive conditions that can make you eligible for care or benefits. So you click on that. Now it says exposures to hazardous chemicals and materials. Learn about chemical hazards or other hazardous materials you may have come in contact with during military service, and find out if you can get VA disability compensation for illnesses or conditions related to these exposures. We call them presumptive conditions. All right. Now, medical care for volunteers involved in chemical and biological testing. And it goes into a little bit here. Now, let's go into the types of exposure. Agent Orange, that's a biggie. We're going to get into that in another video in more detail. All right. But it says if you served in the Republic of Vietnam or in or near the Korean zone, okay, DMZ, during the Vietnam era or in certain related jobs, you may have contact with Agent Orange, or an herbicide used to clear plants and trees during the war. look out for a video I'm going to drop on YouTube where I explain or I do a reaction video to what Agent Orange did and its effects. It's only a 2-minute clip that I'm reviewing. Yes, there's way more issues and videos on Agent Orange, as we know, but it just gives you a little snippet in case you didn't know much about Agent Orange. So go ahead and check that out on YouTube. Asbestos. If you worked in certain military jobs, you may have had contact with asbestos, toxic fibers once used in many buildings and products. Now, I have a young lady, younger than me, who was a soldier, and she was exposed to asbestos, and she has breathing issues, asthma, bronchitis nonstop. And when she was in the service, she is clearly specified, listen, I have breathing problems, and they instantly dismissed her. Now, they noted it and they denied her for that disability, but now it can be covered under the PACT Act. Now, if you look here, it says learn about compensation based on asbestos exposure. Let's click on that and see where it takes us. Now, veterans asbestos exposure. If you have a health condition caused by contact with asbestos during your service, you may be eligible for VA disability compensation. Compensation provides tax-free monthly payments. Keep reading to find out, blah, blah, blah. Now, it says here, you may be eligible for disability compensation based on asbestos exposures if you meet both of these requirements. And it says both of these must be true. You have a health condition that's caused related to asbestos. You have contact with asbestos while serving in the military. Keep in mind, again, this is now covered under the PACT Act. So you could just say it, put it on there, reapply via your supplemental benefits, but under the PACT Act, you should be straight. Birth defects like spina bifida, okay, burn pits and other specific environmental hazards, and contact with mustard gas or lewisite. So it says here if you served at the German bombing in Bari, Italy in World War II or worked in certain jobs, you may have had contact with mustard gas. I I know very little about these gases. I'm gonna be totally honest with you, but I have heard of mustard gas, like reading about it in history class, like when I was a kid. So other than that, I don't know much about it. I guess they're still using it. I don't know. Y'all would know better than me. Contaminated drinking water at Camp Lejeune. If you served at this camp or MCAS New River between August 53 and December 87, you may be at risk of certain illnesses. Yeah, so you could click on that. I mean, wow, this is a lot. It's interesting going through this with you guys because it's given me insight of the treatment of veterans. It's not like I didn't know. I did know. My grandfather was a vet. He didn't fight in Vietnam. What was it? I do believe the war before that was it like World War II, but he was a soldier. He never talked about it. He didn't like talking about it at all, at all. And yeah, it's pretty heavy stuff. But Camp Lejeune water contamination health issues. Yeah, take a look at that. And then it just breaks it down into even further. So what it looks like is if you weren't expected to have presumed illness, you could have filed for disability either way and stated these things that you were affected under the Gulf War of South Asia or War during in Afghanistan, and you still could have applied. The problem is, you guys were getting denied, and you had to prove so much and yada yada yada, and now you do not have to. You don't have to. It's deemed presumptive and assumed. Now it says here, we went backwards. How do I know if I have a presumptive exposure to burn pits? You know, but whatever. If you served in any of these locations and time periods, we've determined that you had exposure to burn pits or other toxins. We call this having a presumption of exposure. on or after 9/11/2001 in any of these locations. So it lists these locations here. Okay. The airspace above any of these locations. That's good that they brought that up. On or after August 2nd, 1990 in any of these locations. All right. So they're breaking that down. Now, the next question they have, are there more exposure related presumptive conditions? Yes, the PACT Act adds new presumptive conditions, but there are also many other health conditions that we presume are caused by exposure to toxic or hazardous materials. If you have any of these conditions, you may be eligible for healthcare benefits. Learn about other presumptive conditions based off of hazardous exposures, and then it circles back to this again. All right, just so you know, it will loop you. Okay, it will loop you. All right. Am I eligible for free VA healthcare as a post 9/11 combat veteran? Let's click on that. It says we're extending and expanding VA healthcare eligibility based on the PACT Act. We encourage you, they're putting this in bold. We encourage you to apply no matter your separation date. Your eligibility depends on your service history and other factors. If you meet the requirements listed here, you can get free babies, free health care, VA health care for any condition related to your search. Any condition. Let's repeat that. If you meet the requirements listed here, you can get free VA health care for any condition related to your service for up to 10 years from the date of your most recent discharge separation. You can also enroll at any time during this period. Now, let's go over this. At least one of these must be true of your active duty service. You served in a theater of combat operations during a period of war after the Persian Gulf War, or you served in combat against a hostile force during a period of hostilities after November 11th, 1990. And inclusive of this must be true for you. You were discharged or released within 10 years. We encourage you to enroll now. What if I was discharged or released before October 1st, 2013? We'll share information about more opportunities. Yeah. So, yeah. Definitely take a look at this. But all in all, they're kind of, as you get further down into the question, they're kind of slowly starting to take a step backwards on some shit. So I don't fall for the okey doke. Focus and apply for your shit. Get your disability, your eligibility, all that. And again, we definitely here Fix My Credit Now at 50.com. We'll be able to assist you with that. Set up a free consultation if you want to even ask a few questions before you start with us, but only reach out if you basically ultimately want to start with us. In the next video, we're going to go over the Vietnam era veteran eligibility, which is pretty huge.